How's everyone doing today? How's it going? Okay, ahead of major court case, EPA revises clean water protections. A new rule revives an older set of protections for rivers, marshes, and waterways, setting aside challenges in the Obama and Trump administrations that led to years of legal wrangling. This is really pretty. Where is that? The Biden administration is working to complete a clean water regulation before the Supreme Court ruling that could complicate the government's ability to protect wetlands and other waters. The Environmental Protection Agency rule, which was finalized on Friday, essentially reversed protections for millions of streams, marshes, and other bodies of water to levels that existed before the Obama administration made major changes in 2015, leading to nearly a decade of political and legal disputes. Oh, so they backed up? With the Supreme Court expected to rule next year on a major case that could reduce the government's authority to regulate wetlands, experts called the Biden administration's move strategic. Getting a rule on the books now gives the EPA a greater chance of locking in, or at least for a while, a broad definition of which waterways qualify for federal protections under the Clean Water Act. So for more, I don't know if they're going to go further into the court case. Yeah, it doesn't seem like they're going to go further. But basically, the court case is these landlords who have like a wetland on their property, and the wetland is connected to a river body, a water body that extends past their property and past state lines. And they want to argue that this wetland is its own body, not connected to the river, and they should have, therefore, personal control over it because it's on their property. Basically. Now, this ruling will back up the EPA's ability to maintain the waterways being federal and not just privately owned. Because, as we know, these water systems are intrinsically connected, if not through things that you can see above ground, definitely through groundwater. A lot of people still don't recognize groundwater's connection to other parts of the environment that is outside of borderlines. So the Environmental Protection Agency rule, which was finalized on Friday, essentially reverts protections for millions of streams, marshes, and other bodies of water to levels that existed before the Obama administration made major changes in 2015, leading to nearly a decade of political and legal disputes. With the Supreme Court expected to rule next year on a major case that could reduce the government's authority to regulate wetlands, experts called the Biden administration's move strategic. Getting a rule on the books now gives the EPA a greater chance of locking in, at least for a while, a broad definition in which waterways qualify for federal protections under the Clean Water Act. If the Supreme Court goes first, then the agency can't finalize a rule that goes beyond it, said Kevin S. Minoli. That one hurt. A partner at Alston and Byrd, who served as an EPA counsel in the Clinton, Bush, Obama, and Trump administrations. Wow. By issuing a rule first, he said the government has more room to interpret the court's decision when it comes. Under the new rule, the EPA revises the definition of what constitutes waters of the United States, also known as WOTUS. That had been in place since 1986, describing the definition as familiar and foundational to decades of clean water progress. In a statement, the agency said the changes imposed by the Obama administration, a subsequent reversal by the Trump administration, and several legal battles in between had harmed communities and our nation's waters. The new rule includes some changes, officials said, including provisions that clarify what bodies of water are excluded from regulation, such as certain agricultural lands, of course. The rule also aims to simplify a test to determine whether a stream or wetland is subject to federal jurisdiction based on its distance from a tributary of a larger body of water. What do you guys think of all this? I don't know. The agriculture thing, like, I get it, but at the same time, like, here we are dealing with forever chemicals in the waterways and pesticides and fertilizers, kind of like bad things in our water systems, mainly due to agriculture. So it doesn't really feel like they should be excluded from regulation. Radhika Fox, an EPA assistant administrator in the Office of Water said in an interview that the rule being finalized on Friday would not be followed by any extensive further revisions. While the agency may propose refinements, she said, the administration is not currently planning a major second phase. Ms. Fox said she hoped the new rule would put an end to the battle between environmental groups and farmers, ranchers, fossil fuel developers, and real estate agents over the types of waterways that qualify for federal protection under the Clean Water Act. I think we have found a middle ground that creates as much clarity as possible, she said. I'm hopeful that this is the one that will stand the test of time. She declined to comment on the Supreme Court case, citing active litigation. The new rule has also been widely viewed as a test for Michael Regan, the administrator of the EPA, who has vowed to develop what he calls a pragmatic approach to water rules. The Obama-era rule had come under fire from Republicans as overly restrictive and onerous to business. President Trump repealed it and imposed his own rule, which environmentalists cast as a giveaway to home builders, farmers, and ranchers. In 2021, a federal judge struck down the Trump rule, leaving the regulatory landscape in limbo. Wombo. Me wombo, you wombo, he, she, we wombo. The study of wombology.
Patrick, I don't think wombo is a real word.
Come on, you know. I wombo, you wombo, he, she, me, wombo.
Anyways. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court case has been moving forward. The case Sackett v. Environment Protection Agency, okay, so that's the one that I was referring to earlier, involves an Idaho couple, Michael and Chantal Sackett, who sought to build a house in the state's panhandle. After they began preparing for construction in 2007, the Sacketts were stopped by the EPA, which said the property included a federally protected wetland. The agency ordered them to stop and return the property to its original state or face fines. The couple instead sued the agency, and a dispute about whether the lawsuit was premature reached the Supreme Court in an earlier appeal. In 2012, the justices ruled that the suit could proceed. The court heard oral arguments this summer, and the case has become a rallying cry for property rights advocates and other opponents of environmental regulation. Damian M. Schiff, a lawyer with the Pacific Legal Foundation, which represents the Sacketts, said he did not believe the EPA rule would affect the outcome of his client's case. He also noted that if the court ruled in favor of the Sacketts, the EPA would likely have to make revisions to its regulation. Quote, "It's really just a stopgap measure," he said of the rule. William W. Busby, that's a great name, an environmental and constitutional law professor at Georgetown University Law Center, said that the new rule, because it returns to a broadly understood set of approaches, helped clear up the past several years of legal confusion. But he did say it wouldn't end disputes over what constitutes a federally protected waterway. Quote, "This statute applies down at the level of people's efforts to build buildings and do big real estate developments," Mr. Busby said. "It's inherently an area where there's a vast amount of money at stake. Probably no matter what, there'll still be conflicts." Lovely.